Europa League, given their first leg results. United with that brilliant performance in Spain to beat Athletic Club. Meanwhile, Spurs, as was expected, getting past Bodo Glimt 3-1. Still second legs to come. But let's say it is United against Spurs in the final. And I'll start with you, Jan. Whoever wins that, does it save their season?
First of all, I think that Bodo Glimt will go into the final. That is my first point. I have to say that, and I give you the reasons for that.
No, I didn't really ask. I don't want to know the reason for that. So if it's Manchester United against Bodo Glimt in the final and United win, does it save their season?
Yeah, but if you say who will save the season of Tottenham, Manchester United, I think Bodo Glimt will come. But fair enough, if that is going to be the final, I think that Bodo Glimt will knock Spurs out. But having said that, I think neither of the manager of Spurs and Manchester United will survive the summer. I think that Manchester United learned last season that winning a final was not enough. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe has learned that. Will he do it again? Well, I'm not sure about that. And the Spurs feeling, I hope for Ange Postecoglou, great man, great lad, but I doubt to win the Europa League is not enough for him either.
Mario, take me into the player's head. If you're a United or Spurs player, or Bodo Glimt player, and you win the Europa League, how much can you celebrate given what's happened for the rest of the campaign?
Oh, yeah, you celebrate. Why would you not celebrate? You win a trophy, you understand, people can talk about it, but this is clearly a trophy of something, if what you've been through as a club and then being in the position to lift this up. Yeah, I would celebrate it like special. The key thing is always, as a footballer in a season, make sure when you lift that trophy that you have added some sweat to it. Don't lift the trophy when you're sitting and watching and you play one game and then you lift it up. It doesn't feel the same. But when I lift it up and I played so many games for that club, and then we go in and winning it, oh yeah, I feel good. It doesn't matter what club I'm on.
It's interesting, Jan brought up the fact that both managers could go, regardless. We obviously think that Ange is on his way out, Jules. Where's Amorim in this world?
Nah, Amorim is not getting sacked whether he wins the Europa League or not, whether he finishes 15th or 16th, he will stay. They clearly believe in him for mid-term to long-term, far more than Ange. Ange is gone at the end of the season, regardless of what happens, again, to Spurs in this competition and in the remaining games in the Premier League. But for Amorim, they will have a big summer. While he's hoping they will have a big summer, they will need to sell players before being able to sign new ones, the ones that he wants. But he will definitely be there at the start of next season.
Right, to the question about the players. When they win, whoever, either one of these teams win the Europa League, celebration, deluxe, royale, we are the champions. Yeah, right?
Not the champions of the world, though, because that'll get Frank going.
All right, well, we're thinking we are the champions and we're raising the trophy. But beyond that emotional moment that is going to be a lift for the club and the fan and the manager and the front office and everybody, when you go and evaluate and analyze your season, you have to be very clear. If you're an evaluator, if you're the front office, if you're the board, that you allocate the proper percentage of weight to the value of that specific trophy and what it means for you to win that trophy. And does that supersede or outweigh what has been a turgid season? What has been awful, historically bad for both teams. In the case of Manchester United, when you look at Manchester United and they've lost 16 matches this season, that's saying something. And this is a brand that has been tarnished over the last few years, but a huge brand across the world nonetheless. Regardless, you put the Europa League trophy over here on the side and you say, well, that's worth however percentage. The rest of that percentage has to be a very objective evaluation of what this club is, what it has been, and more importantly, what it's going to be with one of these managers in charge. If that equation, that percentage doesn't add up, git. If you don't feel comfortable with any of it in that evaluation process, the Europa League cannot be enough to forget all of this. It cannot be. If you do that, you are turning your back on reality And you have already done that if you're Manchester United because you won FA Cup. And if Spurs, I don't know what kind of choice you have. I think Ange Postecoglou's gone regardless.
What's interesting, Jan, for example, Aston Villa have won a lot of fans, rightly so, this season for the performances they put in. Yet they could not qualify for the Champions League and end the season without any silverware. Manchester United could win some silverware and qualify for the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. I was at Villa Park on Saturday and they played Fulham. If Fulham won that game, they would be 3 points behind Aston Villa. And Aston Villa done fantastic games. They nearly did a miracle against PSG, but could end up with no silverware. Having said that, to add to what Al's analysis, is that Manchester United, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, they're there to build Manchester United back among the best. A trophy like the Europa League, the League Cup, or the FA Cup won't help you there. They have to see a development. Everybody that works with Amorim like him. He's good for journalists. He's always there. He's there for you. But can you imagine that Manchester United at that position on the table, and don't come with that thing that is not his team. I can give you 15 managers in the top 5 leagues who don't have their team, and they still manage to get that sorted. So if he saves his position as a Manchester United manager, it's not because he won the Europa League. It's because they think that he can, some of a miracle, the head of recruitment at Manchester United will find gold somewhere. Somewhere we don't know at the moment, because who will like to come to Manchester United now to improve them? And if they're going to play for his system, they need 8, 9 new players. And they have to start, like Jules saying, to sell players. And who will take these players after a season like this? So please, that thing that he's 100% safe, I'm not having that.
Just to confirm, as we're talking for hunting for gold, those odds were to finish in the top 6, not the top 5. Therefore, there was a little bit of...
Up next, talking about teams with something big resting on it at the end of the season. Manchester United have a Europa League final, a semi-final second leg, rather. So too do Tottenham. How's that affected their league form? So obviously we know that relegation has been sorted at the bottom of the table, but Manchester United and Tottenham very much on course for their lowest ever finish in the Premier League. But it's not all doom and gloom. They both have an advantage in the Europa League semi-finals from their first leg. Man United 3-0 up, Spurs 3-1 up. There is a potential Europa League final between those two sides, and potentially they could qualify for the Champions League, having finished 14th and 15th in the table. No team below 12th has ever got to the Europa League final before. And this could yet, in this craziest of seasons, end up being relatively successful.
Unbelievable. You know what? When you look at where they are, and you look at how poor the bottom 3 teams are, and what was it? I think was it West Ham went down on 42 points once?
Yeah.
When you look at how poor these 3 teams, Manchester United and Tottenham would have been in a relegation battle if the teams weren't so bad the last couple of years. That's how bad it's been. But then they're in the semi-finals of, I can't understand it, in the European League. That doesn't make sense.
What's interesting as well, I mean, you talked about Arsenal not making the changes for the Bournemouth game. Manchester United named the record third youngest ever Premier League starting 11 of any team in their game. And they also had their youngest ever Premier League starter in that game as well. So that they've just gone into the youth and just said, right, well, do you know what? All our eggs are in this basket.
The thing about Man United as well, it's very fortunate for them because they've got players coming back now. Ahmad coming on at the weekend, you know, he's going to be a huge fillip for them.
And scored.
And scored as well, And I think as far as their momentum, you mentioned that word before, is concerned, it's going to be fantastic for them. The fact that they didn't concede in that first leg was absolutely crucial for them, because I cannot see Bilbao only got 1 win in their last 9 away games. They are not going to go, famous last words, but it's unlikely that they're going to go to Old Trafford and win. I worry about Spurs because I think as far as Spurs are concerned, Glimt have scored 2 goals on each of the last 5 occasions they've played against teams in the Europa League at home.
They're potentially the story in Europe this season, aren't they, Bodo Glimt?
I do feel, and I'm not saying it.
Is it smile already before you even said it?
But you do. When they score that goal, you do feel they really needed. Like United scored a 3, and it feels comfortable. You just feel like with everything and the way it's happened for Spurs, you do feel like if anything's going to happen when it turns on his head, it could be that Spurs
Yeah,
game. I'm hoping for Ange's sake.
Except it could be the other way.
Yeah.
And that's how Spurs have been. There is something in this Spurs story where they've been, first of all, really praised under Ange Postecoglou for, being really exciting. And maybe they'll lose a bit, in terms of their defence. But this is really exciting oh, my God, the wheels have come off. They don't have any players to pick from.
Yes.
He won't adapt how he plays. And then Ange coming out very bullishly at the start of this season and saying, I always win a trophy in my second season. There is something... There is something great about that story. That's all there is. I'm not talking about possibilities or anything, but just as a story, the comeback would be incredible. The redemption arc is set.
Against Man United, though, Kels, who needs it more? Ange, Man United, the finances, that story.
I hope it happens.
Me too.
But for either of those sides, would it paper over the cracks from this season, do you think?
It definitely would do, but what he would do is it would mark the Premier League's strength down as the best league in Europe in terms of the fact that there is a domination of English clubs. You can look at Chelsea in the Europa Conference League as well. Arsenal obviously got every chance still in the Champions League. I know you can say that. But I just think for us, it's a fantastic fillip for English.
It's brilliant. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it happens. I really do.
You want to see a Manchester United against Spurs final?
Only if Arsenal get into the Champions League.
You don't want everyone else having great away days.
No, can you imagine having a season like Tottenham are having? We're having this season. We don't win the Champions League or get to the final, and Tottenham win the Europa League. You can't go into North London.
So you're here. You might be here next weekend. You might not be here next weekend, depending on what happens.
Honestly, Kels, I'm so nervous.
I mean, either way, you're either still going to be in Paris, or mentally or physically, you might still be in Paris next week, or you'll have gone missing. But either way, we will be back with the show next week at the same time. Karen and Darren, Kaza and Daza, thank you very much for coming in to join us. We will see you at the same time next week. For now, though, from all of us, bye-bye.
Premier League referee Anthony Taylor has explained why he allowed play to continue, despite Manchester United having a player injured in the build-up to one of their goals conceded against Brentford. United were beaten 4-3 by the Bees in their Premier League game at the Gletsch Community Stadium on Sunday afternoon. Despite goals from Mason Mount, Alejandro Garnacho and Ahmad, United conceded 4 to lose their 16th match in the top flight this term. United were also dealt a blow with Matthijs de Ligt suffering an injury in the defeat in West London. It was in the build-up to Brentford's second goal of the game, from Kevin Scard, that de Ligt picked up the injury following a challenge for the ball with Yoane Wissa. De Ligt asked for treatment after suffering the injury while Brentford played on and scored seconds later. Taylor, who refereed the match between United and Brentford, appeared as a guest on Sky Sports' show Monday Night Football. The referee has explained why he did not stop the match for de Ligt's injury, despite loud appeals from United players, staff and supporters. The main consideration in this situation was, basically, my responsibility under the laws is to decide if de Ligt is seriously injured or not, said Taylor. If it's a serious injury, then it's my responsibility to stop the game at that moment. Generally, you would consider a serious injury a head injury in the main, Taylor continued. In this situation, because of him de Ligt sitting up and asking for treatment, I didn't consider that serious. So that's why we allowed the game to continue and the goal resulted. If we analyse it a little bit more, it's probably more of a foul by de Ligt on Wissa than the other way around, the official added. Particularly in the Premier League, these days, there's a greater expectation that we're letting a lot more physical contact go.